Greetings. Thanks for tuning in to Game Master Mastermind. I'm your host, Sean. My Troy McClure voice. Some of you might know me as Sean from Gaming NBS Tabletop RPG Podcast, where I had been a co-host and producer of that show for 7.5 years with my buddy Brett. And we did over 384 episodes and some bonus episodes. So all in, we probably did about 400 episodes over that 7.5 years. And I learned a ton, not only about gaming and game mastering and playing tabletop role-playing games, which is, by the way, what the show was about, but I also learned a lot about myself and some of the things that I need to open up a little bit when it comes to game mastering. Some of us have been doing game mastering for 10, 20, 30 years or even more. Some of us are just starting to take a look at getting into game mastering your first tabletop RPG. It can be a little bit nerve-wracking. You got to know, or you feel as though you have to know the system, the rules, the mechanics. Mechanics and system may be synonymous. The dialogue, being able to do things ad hoc, a lot of improv, very impromptu type of style. And that's just the game. Then you have the dynamics of the players and what that looks like. So if you're running into a problem or an issue, we would tackle those on Gaming NBS with some success and actually with some help from our community members, affectionately known as BSers. In this podcast, what I kind of tell you about this show, well, why am I doing it? One, I've suddenly come across some free time. I'm no longer doing Gaming NBS, and so consider this a spin-off show. The other reason is that I've become mildly obsessed, maybe, in analyzing game master styles, seeing why people play the way they do or run a game the way they run. Maybe there's tips that you can glean depending on the type of problem that you're running into in your own particular game. And with the community members of Gaming NBS, I've learned quite a bit from them. So I'm hoping through this show that other people can benefit from some of the knowledge of the RPG mind, the mind, as I will affectionately refer to them. So if you're not familiar with a Game Master Mastermind or just a mastermind in general, well, the concept was kind of brought up in 1925 by an author by the name of Napoleon Hill. In the book that he wrote, The Law of Success. It was further elaborated in his 1937 book, Think and Grow Rich. What it is a peer-to-peer mentoring group. A lot of solopreneurs, entrepreneurs get into masterminds or create a mastermind. Maybe they're all podcasters. Maybe they're all content creators. Maybe they are trying to get businesses off the ground or side hustles so that they can quit their day jobs. Somewhere there's a common theme amongst the group so that they can share their insights of what they know with other members of the group. I'm not going to get into the nuances of the mastermind and how it's run, but essentially the concept or a good analogy that I could put forth that may make a little bit more sense is Apollo 13, the movie. That stars Tom Hanks and a variety of other A-list actors. And what happened with Apollo 13 was, well, they encountered some trouble on the ship. And they were going to have a hard time getting back to Earth. In the movie, a bunch of engineers get into a room. And in that room, they bring a bunch of things, equipment, and gear that would be on the spaceship. And they were to come together with a solution just using that gear, solutioning how they would survive and what they would need to do that. Obviously, with a single person, you might get into a rut where you might think that's the great solution or that's the best avenue to go, but you may be limited by your own blind spots, your lack of experiences. So if you get 4, 5, 6 engineers in a room all together using their collective mind to come up with a solution, chances are they will be able to come up with one faster. They'll be able to come up with something more effective because it's not just one person. It's 5 or more. Or in this podcast, the mind. So it's really going to be community driven and really going to be relying upon you to help get this show off the ground. Now, I realize we all have day jobs and affectionately known as adulting. And a lot of us game. Some of us are in a weekly game, a monthly game. We have our own personal things that we do. We want to spend time with our family members and things of that nature. So time is precious to each and every one of us. But hopefully what I could do is get some individuals, game masters, of all different backgrounds and experiences, whether they live in a different area of the world or they've played different games, or maybe they have a different ethnicity, whatever that is, they can bring a fresh perspective on the art of game mastering and tackle a particular problem where we all come together to tackle a particular problem that's come up. So the problem I'd like to see comes from the community. And it could be your experience as a game master or something you've witnessed from being a player and seeing maybe a game master struggle with something, and you bring that to our attention. Now, I understand that may not always happen. So it may be something where I come up with the topic of the week and I propose that to the mind to come up with a particular solution. The mind would be interacting either through voicemail, email, maybe it's comments from a Discord server, or there is a possibility of having those individuals on the show. Logistics may be kind of tricky, so I'm not quite sure how that may pan out. But it's a possibility, a strong one, I think, because there's a lot of game masters out there, and finding ones that may be available for less than an hour to discuss their favorite hobby might be very doable. So that we could come up and talk kind of in a roundtable fashion about the particular problem, issue, struggles, game mastering, and hearing it from people that have played all kinds of different games. And like I said earlier, come from different backgrounds, styles, opinions, experiences. You get the picture. Hopefully that will then spur further discussion and maybe help get somebody out of a rut. So if you're interested in becoming part of the GM Mastermind or the Mind, head over to gmmastermind.com/join the mind. All one word, join the mind. Now, if you are interested in contributing, say, a topic suggestion, then you could do that as well by heading over to gmmastermind.com/show topic. We'll queue those up, make a roster and a sign-up sheet, and then we'll start getting the mind together to talk about some of those topics and then provide them to you to digest. It should be an interesting show, to say the least. Kind of crowdsourcing a podcast. So I'm excited about it. I hope you are too. I know through my experiences in the RPG hobby has been very positive, met tons of friends and new contacts along the way, and I look forward to meeting even more, and hopefully you'll be along for the ride. Thank you so much. Do me a favor. Head over to your podcatcher of choice, if you've listened to this on your podcatcher, and pull it up, GM Mastermind, which you probably already have, but make sure you hit the subscribe button. That will really help out significantly in spreading the word and spreading the reach of the mind. The GM Mastermind. Cheesy. I sound like a pitch man, but you know, what are you going to do? I look forward to this show. I hope you do too. I'll leave you off with this. Be a positive force in the tabletop RPG hobby.